undisclosed location high in the Hollywood Hills. It's time once again for the long shot. Come hell or high water. Tonight's episode, just another long shot mailbag. And now please welcome the host of the long shot, Sean Conroy. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good noon, good dawn, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am your host. My name is Sean Conroy. Just plug in my computer so it doesn't run out of juice during the recording session. With me tonight is my co-host, as ever, the luminous Amber Kenny.
Oh, hello.
Well, I'm just saying that because I'm always in shadow and you're always in light, which I feel like is appropriate. Yeah. The dark side versus, yeah. Okay, I want to start the episode with a couple of things. One thing is I just want to apologize for something I said last week. And I did not do it on purpose, but I realized this week after I guess it was after I put up the audiogram where I said this thing that I was like, I fucking stole that. And I'm sure people realized that as they were listening to it, which was when I said witches turn people into newts. Mm-hmm. There's a very specific Monty Python scene where they're trying to figure out if somebody's a witch. It's a very funny scene that it's one of those Monty Python scenes I go back to over and over again for various reasons, because it's sort of the explanation of a logical fallacy. In other words, he's like, how do we know if she's a witch? Because if she floats, why do things float? They're made of wood. How do we know if she's a witch? If she's made of wood. And then they weigh to see which weighs more, wood or the person. Like it's funny in a lot of different ways. But one of the things one of the characters says is she turned me into a newt. And I was like, I guess at some level, because I do think newts are very associated with witches. They're always like,
I think that's the reason they used that joke.
Right. Like Eye of Newt and whatever. Yeah. But I felt like when I read that, somebody could have heard me say that and go, oh, he's just stealing a joke from Monty Python.
You're always doing that kind of stuff.
Yes. And so, right, exactly. That's my entire career, is basically stealing other people's ideas. And so I was, I was a little bit horrified at that. I was like, because I really hammered it. And then I was like, oh, it's from that little thing. And I definitely have watched it within the last 2 months. I definitely watched that clip recently. And I was in that moment when we were talking, I consider that to be on some level improvising. And I have, over the past numerous decades, practiced the art of improvisation and learned to trust my unconscious and not to think about what I'm going to say next, not to go, let me decide which of the, or even like, which is the funniest thing I can say next, as opposed to, I'm just going to say this thing and either it works or it doesn't work, but we go on to the next thing. And so in that moment, I think I was drawing from that part of my unconscious. And as I was thinking about this, I was remembering stories about comics who would be angry with Robin Williams for stealing their material. And his defense was always, I wasn't doing it on purpose. I must have just been in the room when you said it, and it was stuck in my head, and I was improvising on stage, and I just, So I want to start the show by apologizing to the late Robin Williams for doubting that was possible, because clearly I was doing the same thing that he did. I was stealing from Monty Python. Apparently he used to walk around with a checkbook and just immediately write a comic a check for, I mean, these are all apocryphal stories. I don't know what the truth is of them, but a comic would say, you stole this joke from me. And he would say, here's, $500, here's $1,000.
Wow.
I can't do that for Monty Python because I don't have a checkbook. I have checks, but I don't have them in a book. And I also don't have immediate contact with John Cleese or any of the other guys.
Yeah, we're not sure who wrote that one.
Right. I bet we could. I bet we could. Yeah. I have a Monty Python book right over there.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but in my improv either 1 or 2 class, a girl I was doing
much harder than 1.
Exponentially. Are you having a white Russian?
Yes. No, it does look like that. I do like these kind of glasses. No, it's just I guess it's sort of a white Russian, but without the Russian. It's like cold brew coffee with a little cream in it.
Oh.
But in
like a cocktail glass for some reason. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You do you. But a girl I was doing a scene with in let's say improv 2,
mm-hmm.
fully just in the middle of it broke into Austin Powers, like word for word quoting Austin Powers. And I have never seen an improv teacher angrier. Like he stopped it. It was great. Because that's not the same thing. That's not like, oh, I was informed by my.
No, it's like the person who just goes, hey, remember that part of the movie where they said this funny thing? Which is funny when I remember doing that when I was 7 years old.
Yeah, that's how you start having a sense of
it. Right. And then you start coming up with your own stuff as opposed to like, I'm going to do. That's why.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's why it's so funny to me. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and then our friend Nathan wrote about it on our page, but also wrote a whole thing about the Ted Cruz coloring book. There was this whole thing a couple of years ago where Ted Cruz talked about how he was known for his impressions of all the Simpsons characters.
Yes.
And you can find it on the internet. You can find him doing them, and they're not good. He's not good at it,
mm-hmm.
but he's also clearly so proud of himself for it.
Aww.
Don't say that about him. One of the most vile people in American public life. But it is funny to watch him be so proud of his like Lisa Simpson impression that isn't good, but that his
just
family requests all the time. It makes me feel sad for their family, like for Thanksgiving at the Cruz household or whatever. Look, Ted, we're coming to Thanksgiving, but please, can we not talk about the Simpsons? Let's talk about politics, okay?
Also, Lisa is such a bleeding heart liberal.
Yes.
So would he see her character as like a villain? Like, how does he even watch that show? It's so interesting.
I don't agree with what she says, but I do her voice very well. Her underpinning philosophy turns my stomach. I'm starting to turn Ted Cruz into Paul Lynde in that impression.
Impressions are hard.
They are.
I would love to be able to do them, but I
think, yeah, it's a very specific muscle. And what's interesting to me about impressions, I think I could have been good at them, and there are some that I am good at, but it never interested me. Like it's almost the same thing I'm saying, where it's like, why would I want to do what somebody else did instead of coming up with my own thing? But it's such an instant way to funny if you do it well.
Right.
And if you want to be on Saturday Night Live or any sketch show as a young comic, that's the way you do it, is go, right, here are my 5 impressions. That's the first foot in the door, you know?
Right. I think it's like some people have that part of their ear or they don't, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Like I I can tell when something sounds like something or doesn't, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out how to get there. Does that
Right.
make like I'm like missing that
Yeah. No, I think it's almost like a musical thing. Like it's
Mhm.
hearing
And
the
I'm tone
music.
deaf, so there
Yeah.
it goes.
There you go. But with some people, it's also even more than that. Like it's some kind of uncanny physical thing.
Yeah.
Like I think about somebody like Jim Carrey or Bill Hader, where their face
Like
transforms into whoever they are imitating. And that's kind of an incredible, it's just bizarre. Like, how does that, it's a weird, crazy thing. But I do, uh, I'll be back. That's
so good.
yeah,
Put on
yeah.
some sunglasses, do Jack Nicholson.
Right,
You're
right,
good.
right. But anyway, so I apologize to Robin Williams for doubting that was a possibility. And then here's another thing I wanted to bring up because I'm a little bit. It was an upsetting experience, but ultimately I'm a little bit proud of myself for this.
Oh.
And it's a longer story than we need to get into. But when I was back east last Christmas, I reconnected with somebody from my younger days.
Hello.
Yes, I fucked one of my fellow altar boys from church. No, it was just a friend that I had.
Have happened.
It was a friend. Yeah, it was a friend that I had not seen in a long time. We had lost touch over the years.
I feel like you've told a story about meeting up with someone over.
I met up with a number of people.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I was home and people knew I was home. And for whatever reason, probably because pandemic was going on, there was a lot of I think there was just a lot of awareness of who was around and thinking about the past and contemplation and reflection and
who's important.
Why did we lose touch? And
Yeah.
So this was one of those people, and I met up with this person, and it was great. We spent 3 hours together, talked about everything, and I found out more about some of the reasons why we lost touch with each other, which had to do with stuff going on in this person's life, which I already kind of knew, but hadn't really thought about. And, whatever. Everything was good, except there was one part of the conversation. So person's telling me about their job and they love their job and they have this great job and working in job. And that's great. And I'm so happy. And here's my career. And this is what I'm doing. Then they're like, and I also do this other thing that I love, which I've just kind of started. I'm starting my own business, and it's like a financial consulting thing where
How many jobs? Good Lord. I'm tired listening to it.
Right. But I'm doing this thing and it's great because it's helping other people, but it also gets those people involved and they can then get other people involved. And I was like,
no, that's a multi-level marketing.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Am I about to be the victim of a sales pitch?
Every time you meet with a friend, you think that they're gonna
right.
you or you're gonna
right. The reverse was going on one of the other times. But so I was like, oh, I could feel the conversation going in that direction. It was like, to use one of my favorite metaphors, it was like feeling a ship drifting towards shore, and you're like, we're about to crash.
And it's not going quickly, but
right, but you can feel it. The current is going that way. The wind is blowing. But then there was a shift in the wind, and we went right back out into wide open sea, and everything was fine. I was like, great, okay. Maybe I am being too sensitive. Maybe this person really was just telling me about this thing because this is part of their life and they're catching me up on everything.
Right.
Maybe I'm the bad guy here.
And maybe it's not a multi-level marketing scheme. Maybe that's how I'm seeing it.
Well, except that it was definitely a multi-level marketing.
Okay, great.
And since then I looked up the name of the thing and it was like, yeah, it is definitely that. But I was like, oh no, I overreacted. I overreacted because the ship has gone back out into the middle of the ocean. Everything's fine. We're catching up, whatever. So last week, I have not.
That's a long con, my friend, a year.
Yeah, not a year, but like 7 or 8 months.
Very close to a year.
I wish there was a calendar where we could figure out.
There's no way to know
how long it was, but I literally liked a picture on Facebook that this just liked it.
You can't do that.
Liked it. And within a half an hour, I got a message on Facebook and a text. And they were both half in the language of like, hey, how's it going? I hope everything's good. And half in the language of we do get-togethers every week. I would love to see you there. Can I count on you to show up at one of these times? Which in my perception is a hard sell. Can I count on you to show up at one of these times?
Yeah. Also, they're on the East Coast. Is this like a Zoom situation or?
I don't even remember. I probably was. Yeah, I don't remember. But it was like, my boss has these get-togethers to explain the financial instruments we work with. And, can I count on you? And I was like, fucking shit. And it bummed me out in a couple of ways. Number one, because I'm terrible at saying no. Like, I'm just not, that's not a skill I have.
I wouldn't guess that of you.
Really?
I would guess of the two of us, like you say no and I'd say yes.
You'd be wrong.
No.
No.
No, but like it doesn't seem like you would have a problem with boundaries, but you.
And yet I do,
wow.
Unfortunately.
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
Well, here's the thing.
But text, it's like, I feel like I struggle with people in person. I feel like text or a Facebook message, isn't that a little bit easier to?
Probably, yeah. It probably would have been harder if I was talking to this person in person, talking person to person with this person in person. So I went through agony for like 2 days of how do I get out of this? Because somebody's saying to me, yeah, I do have trouble with boundaries. Because somebody's saying to me, can I count on you to be at one of these things?
Like,
I'm
maybe?
like, he has to be able to count on me. How could he not count on me? And so I'm just like going through all the iterations in my mind of like, what do I do about this? How do I do this? And of course, the one that you keep coming back to is, which was valid for me, was I just don't have time right now. I don't have time to do that. I have to do a podcast once a week. I have many things.
I have to nap. I have
twice a day. But of course, the way those things work is that's not an excuse. Like if you say to somebody in a multi-level marketing scheme, I don't have time. Yeah, they go, how to respond. Okay, that's interesting. Why don't you have time? Let's figure out why you don't have time and let's try to fix that for you. It's like that's a way in all of a sudden.
Well, that's why you have to just kind of say no without a reason.
Guess what? I finally texted back and I said, hey, I hope you're good. This is not something I'm interested in. Period.
Good for you. That's honestly, that's huge.
It was. It felt huge because it felt like I was like being, and I'm not, but it felt like I was being a total asshole by saying that. But in my head, I was like, this person has done something. They're taking a risk of me responding this way. So they can't be upset with me for responding this way.
Right.
So I said, yeah,
And then they called the
not
cops.
interested. Right. Why are you being such a dick? I called the cops on you. And so then and of course the other reason it bums me out is because then I'm like, well, is this person, did we reconnect just for this? Like, you're talking about the long con, and I'm like, is this what this whole thing, all the conversation, all everything, is that what it was about? And I don't think it was, but there's no way to know.
Right.
And that would be a bummer. Like, that would be a total bummer if that was the case. And a little bit is that I don't know that that's not the case. But, well, a couple things. One thing was, which I thought was interesting, and also in a way I appreciated it, although I do think it's a funny technique that these schemes have.
Right.
Was basically, when I said that, the response was, oh, I wasn't saying I wanted you to do this. I just kind of wanted your evaluation of the presentation, because you work in entertainment, and
so that's why I need you there.
But that also, yeah, right. But
it's bullshit.
Yeah, of course. It reminds me of, like, when I was a kid, the big scam when I was a kid, which only a couple of people in my neighborhood got involved in, was Cutco knives. That was one of the, in my mind, that was one of the original.
That in a long time.
That was one of the original multi-level marketing schemes. And what they would do was they would call up friends of their parents and say, I'm going to be selling these knives. I have a presentation I have to do. Would you mind if I practiced my presentation on you? And so I remember a kid in our neighborhood, a friend of the family, who called my parents, and my mother, of course, being just a deeply, deeply generous soul, basically said to me, like, I know what's going on. They're doing this so that we will buy knives, and we will maintain the charade the entire time and pretend that they're just doing the presentation. At the end, we'll say, hey, how about we actually buy some of these from you? Because that's how this whole thing is supposed to work,
right.
And so it didn't bother her to pay, $29.95 for 3 sharp knives she didn't need and would never use, because, right. But because it was just doing good for this person. You know what I mean? Right. And I think there is a reliance on that. And I read, somewhere, I think maybe 5% of people actually make a slight amount of money from any multi-level marketing schemes. Like, generally speaking, it's not a winner for people.
No, of course not.
But so this person said that, and then on top of that, there's reason for this person to be coming out to California over the next couple of years. And so immediately was like, so I'll let you know when I'm coming out, because, it would be fun to hang out or whatever. And so in a sense, I appreciated that, because it was like, we're moving past this weird blip. It's over.
The relationship is not severed.
Right. And I really was thinking about it a lot. I was like, what it just made me really evaluate, I guess, life circumstances. Like, I grew up in a family where we definitely were not rich. Like, we definitely were not, I didn't get everything I wanted to. I never had money when I was a kid, but I also never had to worry. I never had to, go, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen next. And I think this person never had that, I think there was always concern. I think there were, family issues that never got settled for the entire lives of some of the adults in the family. And so that was always a concern. And so now this person is middle-aged, moving towards older age and going, am I going to be okay for the rest of my life? I have to figure out how to make this work. And so in that sense, I was like, I kind of get where this is coming from and I understand it. And
empathy and sympathy.
Yeah, that's just how it is. That's how it is, you know?
I think it's also different personalities can handle a hard sell like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I are both in the camp that cannot hang.
Do you mean doing the hard sell or receiving the hard sell?
Honestly, both.
Right.
For using I statements, I'm not a great hard seller and I hate getting hard sold. But like I have friends, my friend Brandy, who's done the podcast, I think. She'll go
I know Brandy.
She'll go to those timeshare presentations to get a free vacation. Just like knowing steadfast what it is and holding firm that she will not be buying. I would rather pay
it's torture
wholesale a vacation than have to go through that.
Right.
And I don't know which of us is right and which of us is wrong. It's just different.
It's a different mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could never. I would punch someone in the face. Like,
well, and I just be like, okay, or like I don't know. Like by then,
you wouldn't just punch them in the face.
Maybe I don't know.
Maybe. All right. Well, we always start the show with something that we like to call Mailbag here on the Long Shot.
Whoa.
I guess we don't always start with that, but
not very often.
We thought we'd do a mailbag episode tonight. And we have a few. We don't have a lot. Our mailbag is very small. It's like the mailman for the Long Shot podcast carries a sandwich baggie, like a Ziploc sandwich baggie, and all the mail fits in that Ziploc sandwich baggie.
You don't need to highlight that, but also in the mailbag's defense, I think we did a call out for mailbag
a while ago.
Mails. I don't know how to go.
Letters, envelopes,
and we never
stamps.
Acted on it at all.
So there's no reason for people to think that there's any reason to send anything in.
Right.
Here's the reason. Here's the motivation is we are reading our mailbag now. We're going to go through it. And some of them I don't even really remember what
I'm sure that's going to be the case for 100% of them for me.
Okay, here's the first one. And this is not in any particular, I don't think it's in any particular order, except for the most recent one is going to be the last one. This one is from Jim. This is the whole email.
Okay.
Calendar enhancement half idea. September. Timbre. That's it.
Okay.
I think at one point I talked about timbre as like the quality of someone's voice.
Okay.
And so I think it's a reference to that.
It also could be a reference to my name.
But it's Timbre.
Oh. Well, because I think Jamie's calendar already is September. Because you're like cutting away
because there's
at
wood,
your goals or something.
You would like to be doing better. Time to chop it up.
Okay, I like it. Give it to Mr. Flam.
Yeah, if we ever see him again. Here's another one. This one is from Jeff.
My husband?
No. No, this is Jeff who wrote in an idea. It just says, okay, again, this is the whole email. Long Shot Podcast Theme Park is the title.
We are clearly ready for this.
Yeah, and it says
The people are begging for it.
the whirlwind is a given.
Sure.
How about Finger Bang City, the ride?
Oof.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Amber, because you may not have seen the architectural plans, but Finger Bang City, the ride, is in the park. It's already there, but unfortunately, people don't understand. It's literally just a tram from one side of the park to the other. It's not. It's just transportation. It sounds more, I guess, more stimulating than it actually is.
Right.
It's just a cable car with a weird name. I'll show you those plans at some point.
Okay, great.
We
are definitely ready
for a park,
to open parks
a
in
theme
multiple countries, cities.
Let's see, like what that immediately makes me think of, and see if we can. This is violating exactly what I was talking about earlier in the podcast, but it immediately makes me think of that scene from Vacation where they go, sorry folks, park's closed, moose outside should have told you. But in our case, what would be outside to tell people the park was closed? It wouldn't, because it was Wally World, but the moose was the whatever, the dressed up thing,
right,
at the park. So what would ours be? It would just be Joe Wagner. He'd be standing outside of the park. Sorry, folks, park's closed. Joe Wagner should have told you. He's standing right outside.
Or it'd be Chucky. Isn't that his name? The dog?
Jamie's dead dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Chucky should have told you. He's outside the park in a swimming pool doing the dead man's float, the dead dog's float.
With X's on his eyes.
Somebody drives up and he just goes, park's closed, folks.
Ugh, darkness.
Merry Christmas. Remember it was on Christmas Day. Here's another email, and this is from Todd. And Todd is a guy who I can't remember. He's very involved with books. That's all I can tell you. I don't remember if he has a bookstore.
He's probably sent us books before.
He may have, but he put me on a list that he used to send out every week. I don't think I've gotten it in a while, if I remember correctly, but he would send out a list of like all sorts of old books that were sort of forgotten about, and there were like links to reviews of them, and just like crazy novels from the 60s and 70s. It was always like, it was one of those things where I got it, and if I had time I would always like spend an hour reading things because I'm a fan of esoterica. We should put that on a ride.
Yeah, that could be one of the lands I was thinking.
Esoterica land?
Yeah.
It's just there's just people there spewing obscure facts.
Yeah, that would definitely have to be part of our park.
Yeah. And some of them you don't know if they're true or not. Like
right.
they might be mistaken.
Saying a lie with a smile.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Right. We're not gonna, and then you can call them out or you can just let it slide. And I couldn't tell when I was looking at this email whether it was just something he had cut and pasted from something else or whether he had written this. I just wasn't sure. I think it's something he wrote, and there's links on it. So obviously we can't go to those links. Anyway, this is what it says. And it was for Amber.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. That's what I assumed. Shortly after I posted on this page about the 50th anniversary of the debut of Columbo as part of the NBC mystery movie Wheel series, I was contacted by Jeffrey Marks, the publisher at Crippen and Landrew, who told me his company has in the works a posthumous collection of short stories by the two creators of that landmark TV crime drama, William Link and Richard Levinson.
Whoa.
Link passed away in 2020, Levinson in 1987. Shooting Script and Other Mysteries is the title, states Marks, and it will be published this fall. I'm guessing November at this time. Levinson and Link, as you may already know, became friends when they attended the same junior high school in Philadelphia and then went on to be writing partners for 43 years. In addition to creating TV series and scripting films, they penned short pieces of fiction. Back in 2010, Crippen and Landry released Link's The Columbo Collection, which featured a dozen of his new yarns starring Los Angeles' best-known rumpled police detective. During a contemporaneous interview, Link told me he had another 16 that hadn't made the cut. So if it's successful, I've already got enough for a follow-up book.
Wow.
None of those 16 will be found in Shooting Script, according to Marks, though he adds, I do plan on asking the Link estate about these stories after we complete this book. The Columbo Collection was one of our most popular collections.
That sounds amazing.
So that's coming out in November.
Just in time for my birthday.
Well, you know.
We'll see.
We'll see what Santa brings you for your birthday. You do have Jesus's birthday, right? I'm always struck by people like these guys met in junior high school and were writing partners for 43
it's
years.
Crazy.
You know, the Beatles, right? Those guys met when they were like 15 or something. U2, those guys all knew each other when they were in high school. Like, how lucky is it for people to meet people with whom it's worth collaborating when they're that young? That's cool.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I would like to meet someone. Bono. I'd like to meet Paul McCartney. Okay, this one is from Franco to the Long Shot podcast. Hey, Davis and Duncan. Hope you both had a solid weekend. My name's Franco Grisafi. I'm a Pennsylvania real estate agent and loyal Miami Heat fan since Shaq. I'm a top agent in the area who works with local people, investors, and businesses. The Lehigh Valley area is one of the fastest growing areas in the country. The LHV has a population of 844K, which is larger than Memphis, Boston, New Orleans, Milwaukee, all which have NBA teams. LHV houses a lot of people who commute to Philly, New York, and New Jersey. All right, I'm going to stop there.
That is hilarious. Yeah. It is not for us, and it's a sales pitch. It's a double whammy.
Yes. It's for the other Long Shot podcast.
One of the other.
Right. The basketball one, not the vaccination one. But I do think it's funny that this guy is pushy enough to send a sales email out of the blue to a podcast, but sends it to the wrong podcast.
This is what we were just talking about beforehand. Like,
about me apologizing to Monty Python?
I would never. And I probably should, but I don't reach out to people who I know like me and will help me.
Right.
Never too strong.
Right. You don't want to impose on anybody.
Yes.
Here's my question, though. Does this mean that the reason our postman's mailbag is a Ziploc sandwich baggie is because lots of our emails are going to the other Long Shot podcast?
That's probably it.
Like Duncan Robinson of the Miami Heat is going, why are they asking me about, who? Smudgy. Occupy Wall Street is not the death of capitalism. That's wrong. Why are they still talking about that? So anyway, that was okay. Here's another email. This one is from Sam, who used to be producer of the show.
Okay. I actually I owe her some messages. So anyway, go on.
You're going to owe her more after this.
Oh, no.
Hi, Lo Show Po. Sam here, your least referenced past producer. Now,
no.
yeah, I can't tell if that is who do we don't reference past producers really.
Maybe
the only one I can think of is Alex, but he was not a producer. He was an intern and a drug dealer.
Right.
So, Sam, if you had sold us more drugs.
Did we reference Andrew?
I don't know that I have. Maybe Jamie did at some point.
And he was a guest. Anyway, are we digging the hole deeper?
Probably. There's no way to not dig a hole like that.
What we're trying to say is there are least referenced producers. We won't even reference them now. And so.
Right. Yes. I mean, remember that other one producer and those two others that we haven't. I'm glad you guys came back, and the Sean and Amber episodes have been a really nice new addition to the show.
That's good, because that's.
I hope so. If not, people are fucked. But thank you. I'm emailing because I wanted to say I identify hard with Amber.
Uh-huh.
I have a dog who is reactive on leash and has only calmed down due to prescription painkillers he now needs to take for a spinal condition.
Oh, wow.
Amber, you and Jeff are going through something so hard, and I just want to acknowledge that you aren't alone in going through this isolating experience.
Thank you.
What I call the dog industrial complex, I think Eisenhower actually coined that phrase, but Sam calls it that. What I call the dog industrial complex is exactly what you said about Cesar Millan. Largely, the difficult parts of owning a dog are not discussed.
Yes.
By the way, I just read an article about Cesar Millan about how he has been wrong since his career started, and he's still on about that bullshit
or something.
Yeah. Like he's not right. Like the study about which his approach, the study upon which his approach is formulated, which is every pack needs a leader, you be the leader and your dog will follow, turns out to have been incorrect. It was a study of wolves, and the study showed that there was one alpha wolf and everybody else followed the alpha wolf. That is false. Wolves mate for life, and there is a couple that leads any given pack.
Love that for them.
Leads by taking care of the younger wolves until they go off on their own.
Right. And
not by dominance or control.
Right. By
yet,
leadership and
and yet
care.
Cesar Millan is still out there going, every pack needs a leader, just like they showed in that study.
No,
and
my parents recently said that they found some article where literally Cesar Millan's dog, the one that he references as like his perfect dog and he introduces to other people to calm their dog down, like killed a couple other dogs or something, like something crazy, and like bit people.
That may be true. I don't know. But I do know that in the article I read, they talked about how Cesar Millan has at any given time a pack of between 30 and 60 dogs living at his house, which if he was not Cesar Millan, people would say this is a mentally ill person hoarding animals. Yes.
But he has a lot of property.
And he has servants and people who handle the dog. But
they're not like crammed together.
No. But I guess the point of this article was like the guy is completely full of shit and always has been, and yet
he's charismatic.
The celebrity. He's a celebrity.
He's got celebrity.
Celerity. He's made of celery. He's a celery man. The focus is all on getting dogs out of shelters and giving dogs a healthy and happy life. I actually got these pages out of order by accident, so that's good. But rarely are the realities of how the latter are achieved ever addressed openly.
Yes.
And the only way you find this stuff out is by paying money and giving time to have different people maybe tell you the reality. But often professionals still don't want to give bad news and discourage an owner by overwhelming them.
Yes.
I wish more dog professionals could be honest and say, this is a hard case, or this will take up to a year. And in a controversial statement, I wish there were more options for rehoming that didn't feel so shameful.
Yeah.
When my dog got diagnosed with a lifelong spinal condition that can lead to paralysis and strike at any time, I seriously considered rehoming, and there were very limited options. So while I appreciate the forever home messaging, I wish it was more realistic about no, once you get a pet, it's forever, no matter what, including these kinds of difficult realities. I found a way to manage my dog's needs, but it took a lot of emotional work and restructuring of my life, something not everyone can do.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. And also, so much of the messaging out of the pandemic specifically are like, if you can't keep your dog, you're a piece of shit. It's not just that there's no options, it's that you're personally bad. But like, we are keeping Smudgy, obviously.
Right.
But like, if we had this much less financial resources or time resources or mental health, like, it wouldn't be what's best for him or for us. And so it's crazy to think that it's like you're a bad person for just saying, like, I don't have the resources to do this properly.
To do what's right for the dog.
Right. So I 100% agree. I also think I see it a lot, and I've like seen people on Twitter post this, and you know how you like take things personal and you're like, this isn't about me and I need to let it go. But like just a reminder, if your dog's bad, it's your fault, not the dog's fault. And it's just like, yes. Like, but there are it would be my fault if I didn't do anything or try.
There are definitely people who are bad pet owners.
Yes. So I understand what they're saying, and I understand that it's probably not geared to me.
Right.
But also, there are dogs that have temperaments
that have problems.
And so, like, I can do everything 100% right, and he is so much better. But he, in some people's eyes, will maybe always be considered a bad dog.
Right.
And it's like, is that my fucking fault?
You are a witch, but you are not magic.
Right. Oh, well, but yes, but I'm taking responsibility in, I guess it's not like, oh, he's a bad dog, so we no longer try. I guess that's where the ownership part comes in.
Yes. And I feel like part of what you're saying also is maybe something along the lines of, if you see someone whose dog is behaving badly, don't leap to the judgment that that person is a piece of shit.
Right.
Because there's maybe more to the story than that.
Thank you. Yes. Bless you. That is what I'm saying.
Just don't turn me into a newt, because that's what witches do. They turn people into newts.
If a kid is having, and I guess maybe some people do, but if a kid is having a tantrum in a store, I wouldn't be like, that must be a bad parent. Like, again, maybe some people do, but
I also think it depends on how you see the parent behave in that moment.
Sure.
You know,
if you're not just like,
I like when you do this, Paul. If they say that, then you're like,
that's a bad kid.
Parent. All right, Claude, why don't you pull some stuff off the shelves? They're a bad parent for encouraging their kid to trash the place and for naming him Claude.
But I owe Sam a message about, and I will message her as well, but I'll do it publicly on here so I get double credit.
Mhm.
Anytime I talk about anything like weed related, she sends me a text message and she's like, I know you don't like weed, but I think it might be for these reasons. And I think this might be a good strain for you. Or like, I know you have back pain, so this might be a good cannabis oil for you. And I know Smudgy has anxiety, and I think this might be a good CBD dog supplement.
Mhm.
Anyway, point is, when I first was getting those, I was at the height of being overwhelmed and I couldn't even respond to text messages. And that isn't an excuse, and it doesn't mean it's right. But since then, I've been able to sort of ground, and I truly went back through them, and I think I've ordered every single thing she recommended for Smudgy and myself. So thank you, Sam. And again, I owe you a message, and I will give this to you in person, but thank you. It's very sweet that you always think of me and recommendations. And I appreciate it, even though I haven't responded because I am a piece of shit.
Okay. So just to underline that, you are a piece of shit.
But not because of my dog.
Not because of
for
your dog.
other reasons.
But Sam, as it turns out, could have been our least referenced producer who was also our drug dealer.
Wow.
But she wasn't really. Maybe her time overlapped with Alex. I don't think it did, but
maybe they canceled each other out.
Mm-hmm. But also drugs became legal eventually, so we didn't need dealers anymore.
Right.
So that worked out great.
Yeah, Smudgy is on CBD. He takes a dose in the morning and the evening.
Nice. All of this is still back in her email. All of this is to say, Amber, you are doing so much good. Now, just remember, Amber just claimed that she is a piece of shit.
So now I'm arguing with her.
Sam is slightly countering that. All of this is to say, Amber, you are doing so much good by sharing these scary growing pains. You're giving a voice to feelings many of us have dealt with in silence, and you're validating our sadness and frustration.
Oh, thank you.
I thank you for sharing this part of you and Jeff's. I thank you for sharing this part of you and Jeff's life. I hope someone says Hoddle did her here. Nope.
I appreciate, because I will say at the height, it knock on wood, it feels like things have calmed a bit. They've gotten better, but at the height of things, it was a lonely ass time in the sense that, and I've said this before, but even like trying to explain it on this podcast, or trying to explain it to dog trainers who are professionals, or explain it to my parents, or explain it to friends, like it felt like it never fully communicated. I was never able to fully communicate the severity of the situation, or
just to apologize on my own behalf, I always turn the sound off when you're talking.
No, I'm saying, like, I've discovered you have the least to apologize for, but it's just like, oh, Jeff and I are in a situation that is very difficult and very difficult to explain to anyone else. So
it's hard to get sympathy from other people. And people have that thing where they want to tell you what you need to do to fix it instead of just sympathizing.
Right.
We've talked about.
It's tough because I realized that we did kind of like down with advice, but I would have loved advice that actually could have solved anything. Right. I think, again, he was a situation that real deal professionals haven't seen a lot. So it's more than try a treat, or I don't know. Like, to this day, people still are like, have you crate trained him? And I'm like, yes! Like, God damn it.
Right. You got a flat tire. Have you tried changing the tire? Yeah, I did. It's like,
clicker training. Yep. Did it all. Like, I could be a dog trainer at this point.
It's like that thing when you call tech support and they go, please restart your, and it's like, come on, man. I would not be calling you.
But in their defense, most of the people who call haven't done that, and they do it, and then it works fine. So they have
Fair
to.
enough. Fair enough. So you should actually try crate training then.
I have, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or they'll say things like, "Don't feed him from the table." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Should I
not?" I'm sorry it's been so hard, but I'm excited to see what the cosmic purpose was of bringing Smudgy to you. Joe, I miss you. I hope you and your family are safe with your double foam masks in the Southwest. Jamie, I hope you are well. Sean.
Oh, no.
You are a great conversationalist, and I thank you for showing up every week. Somehow, through a pandemic and lockdown, you find interesting things to talk about on the podcast, and that's a real feat. I can't wait to hear about your journey returning to the stage as live performance becomes a less COVID risky experience. Please let me know if you are up for performing on Zoom. Otherwise, I will let you know when I start producing live shows again, as I want to be part of your story. P.S. I hope you eventually spend less nights staying up late watching the infuriating 24-hour news cycle. It's all biased corporate reporting anyway. Love you all. Lo Show Po for life.
That was a great letter.
It really was.
At first, I thought she was just gonna give you like an attendance award, but that was a real deal compliment.
It was a compliment. Yeah. I'm a great conversationalist. I'll take it. You know. Yeah, I'll take that. And I am trying not to stay up and watch, although we are living in a very infuriating 24-hour news cycle right now, because as we went to press, as we went to podcast, we're still waiting to hear about whether or not Congress is going to vote for Biden's agenda. We're in the midst of all that. So that's kind of a crazy times. Okay. And no, yes, Sam, I appreciate you suggesting that I let you know when I'm ready to perform on Zoom. I've never done it, and I feel like I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
You like the feedback from the
audience.
Being
in front of people. Yeah. That's the joy of it to me. Is connecting with people in real life in a room where they have to shut up and listen to me
connecting,
be a great conversationalist by myself.
Talk back.
Yes. This is a one-way conversation, motherfuckers. Okay, this next one is from Gerald, an old friend of the podcast. Hello, Lo Show Po. Since I didn't hear back about my first mailbag questions. Yeah, I don't know what that. And I think I even looked through the mailbag and I couldn't find another email, which doesn't mean it wasn't
they came
sent,
from a different email address.
Yeah, like who knows? Also, we have changed mailbag servers at some point. I mean, I know it was years ago,
so
but
there's some that are gone.
Since I didn't hear back about my, I love mailbag letters that start accusatorily.
And I like anything that's accusatorial.
And then become much less, become much friendlier over the course. So we'll see if this gets, I think it probably gets friendlier, don't you think?
I mean, you've read it before.
You're assuming. Since I didn't hear back about my first mailbag questions, I can assume Sean doesn't want to talk about his polyamorous friends, and Jamie is content with his etymological confusion. Amber also doesn't want to talk about my terrible poetry, but that is just smart. I guess that must be in reference to the first email and whatever he said or asked in that first email, because I don't remember any of that. However, I thought I would try again since I'm no quitter. In fact, I'm a little drunk right now. Great.
Perfect.
Sean, this is how you know I didn't read this ahead of time because I'm reading it now and I'm like, I should have read this ahead of time so I was prepared. Sean, what is the strangest thing you are proud of? For example, I think I write well about death and I don't generally write that good. So what is the strangest thing I am proud of? The difficulty with that question is that would presume
that you're not proud of being proud of it.
Or that I am proud of anything.
Damn.
That I have some element.
You have to go take a nap.
Of pride in my life. I don't know. I mean, I have to think about that. I really honestly, because I feel like if I gave an answer right now, it would be glib and flip and silly. And I don't think that's the intention.
Glib and flip is our actual next podcast.
I'm glib. I'm flip. And hey, it's me, silly.
They only show up sometimes.
Yeah, that would be just like this podcast. Okay, Amber. Amber, how often can I retweet the long shot on your DreamWorks account before it is a problem? Can he retweet anything on your account?
I don't think so.
He seems to be saying that he has access to your DreamWorks account.
Okay.
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand the question.
I wish my question had been a little less clear. So instead of not giving an answer, which is just going to piss him off even. Like, imagine the next email we're going to get. It's going to be like,
God,
I heard back, but fuck you anyway.
You didn't answer this question. Yeah. I occasionally, when I'm desperate enough for engagement, will retweet a DreamWorks tweet on my personal, just so somebody has looked at it. But I don't know. I don't know what he's saying, to be quite honest. Feel free to interact with any DreamWorks.
Wait, are you saying that you in your personal account get more interaction than DreamWorks does?
No, I'm saying me retweeting it counts as an interaction.
Oh, I see. So if you put something out there as DreamWorks and it's just kind of hanging out there to crickets, you're like, hey, it's me, Amber Kenny. I'm going to retweet this. Yeah. And then the bosses are like, oh, this is working out good. We got looks like the dream is really working. We picked the right name for ourselves because the dream is working.
Side note.
Yeah.
I met my new boss today.
This is a person you've worked for months now, right?
No, he just got hired. I've been reporting like a step above.
Oh, there was somebody in between that wasn't hired yet.
Yeah. Yes. And so he just got hired. And that's so weird because it's like, I feel the people pleaser in me. I felt the need to like, no, I'm good at this job. Like you should want me to be your employee. And it's like, it's too late. I'm his employee. Yeah. I don't need to do that.
Let me tell you something, Amber. Look, it's my first day, but you need to know things are going to change around here, okay? The way you've been doing things, just retweeting all those tweets that DreamWorks puts out, that's going to stop as of this very fucking second, okay?
Great. That's what I kept saying over and over again.
Step 2, no more feeding the dog from the table.
I kept saying over and over again to him, and he probably was like, yeah, I get it. But I was like, I am in maintenance. I am just trying to survive. Like,
I thought this was social media.
No, because he kept talking about our strategy and our tactics. And I was like, I'm not married to anything we're doing right now. So you're not going to hurt my feelings.
If you think we need an overhaul, let's haul.
Let's Control Alt Delete, baby. I'm fine.
Yeah, that is weird to be there for so long and then all of a sudden you have a new boss.
It's really weird.
Jamie, if he's there, inspiration/aspiration, discuss.
Just the idea of it?
He's not here. No, I think some people get frustrated because Jamie talks sometimes about how he's inspired, he's inspired by Mel Brooks to be the next Mel Brooks or whatever. And people are like, what is he talking about? Or is he aspiring to that or inspired to that? But again, I can't answer because I'm not.
I think a lot of things can be inspirational, but it doesn't mean that you need to be inspired to do that exact thing. Right. I think Jamie maybe misses that part of it sometimes.
But unfortunately, he's not here right now because he's conducting the Boston Pops.
Right. And making the next Young Frankenstein or whatever.
Right. Everyone, what's the best thing you've written or performed? There is a special bonus if you don't know why you love it so much. For example, I once wrote a line in a very bad poem. Never behind in smoke, I let dreams cascade like electric poison. And I really love it. I don't know what it means, and I don't know why I like it so much. So that's the question. What's the best thing you've written or performed?
The first thing that came to my mind, so I'm just going to do that, is on my sketch team, like 2 sketch teams ago, who knows?
Is this the one you got people fired from?
No. I hate that. I hate that. And that's why you do it.
Was this Gold Baby?
I wasn't ever on Gold Baby or Squeesh.
Squeesh.
But it was a tiny part I had in the sketch. And I guess it doesn't make sense unless I say the whole premise. And the whole premise is it is a swimming pool, and there's a sign that says you're not allowed in if you've had diarrhea in the last 2 weeks. And so I honestly don't even really remember, but my character keeps trying to go to the pool and then realizing she had diarrhea and then leaving. Mm-hmm. And there's a part where I come back with a doctor's note. And I'm just really proud of myself, and I hand it to them. And the lifeguard says, "This note says you have diarrhea." And I go, and Jeff references it like almost every day. It's like the hardest I've ever made him laugh. Just like earnestly being excited that you have diarrhea. I'm sure I've done better things, and I'm sure I've written other things. That was the first thing that popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Is
it's a weird
enthusiastically smiling and nodding about
that you have diarrhea. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the nature of sketch comedy. Speaking of squeesh. I mean, I think that's a hard question, because what's the best thing you've written or performed? Because that's like saying
you've ever written anything good or performed anything.
Right. Or like, what's the best, like you're saying this is the best thing,
Line in the sand.
Which is hard.
Carved in stone.
But I guess I feel like this is a fucked up thing to say, because didn't really go anywhere. Or I wish, well, whatever. Life is not over. But when I did my show, my 1-person show about teaching, which was 20 years ago at this point, that to me was the best thing I've ever written. Mm-hmm. I just never found a way to I wish I had worked harder at finding a way to make that the direction I took in terms of stand-up. Instead of seeing it in my head, it was like always a separate thing. Yeah. It was like, this is this and this is this. And that's not necessarily true. And in fact, not at all true, as evidenced by some very successful comics I've seen since then. Yeah.
They find a way to make it like this personal thing to
right. And I wish that I had been able to not be sort of boxed in by that, And I think that's what I was trying to work towards, or to begin working towards, right when everything shut down for the pandemic. I was doing a new show and also trying to do more stand-up. And I think my goal in doing that stand-up was to take what was in the show and make it more,
stand-up-y.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the word I was gonna say, but it's like, what does that even mean? But I have a sense of what it means in my head. You know what I mean?
Jokes per minute.
Like, you could do a 5-minute section, or you could do an hour-long thing of the same material and have it be as compelling either way, because doing a show for an hour, it's okay to take more time. Whereas doing 5 minutes, you can't just go like, this is leading up to a payoff 9 minutes from now.
I can't just paint a picture.
Right. So I was trying to figure out a way to do that, which, like I said, I have seen people do that years after I did that show and been like, oh, okay, I could have tried to be more like that with this other thing. So that's one, that's one thing. And like I said, the game's not over. We're still in the third quarter. So, if I can ever get comfortable going back to live performances and let Sam know that, I'm willing to do that, and she starts booking things, maybe I'll get out there. She'll be part of my story, and I'll have a story to tell.
Wow.
On stage.
Gorgeous.
It's the best thing you've written or performed. Yeah, I think let's leave it there, because it's hard to, I've done so many great performances. It's hard to pick one. It's funny. You say, like, what's the first thing that pops into your head? And I immediately think of an ASSCAT show I did, again, 20 or 21 years ago, when ASSCAT was sort of at the height of its punk rock notoriety in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely was that long ago, because it was at the 22nd Street Theater, which closed in 2001.
Wow.
And people had very high expectations coming into that show. And for some reason, and I don't remember why, nobody showed up this particular night. It was just myself and Ian Roberts and Andy Secunda. And, we were like, what do we do? Do we still do the show, or do we cancel? And, we didn't have to give people their money back because the show was free. And we did the show. And that was like, I've done it since then, but that was the first time I had ever done an improv show with that few people. And it seemed like an impossible thing to do. And it was like an amazing show. And it was very gratifying to be that, I guess I would say, that in command of the craft at that point.
Mm-hmm. In the flow.
Right. In the flow. Exactly. Jordan's flu game. Okay. In conclusion, in sum, to finish, in order to summarize, to complete this discussion, in an attempt to wrap everything up, sorry, I was briefly possessed by Sean. Motherfucker.
He got you good.
But I hope you realize this podcast is a bit of comfort, sunshine, laughter, and connection for me every week. Although I don't know any of you, hearing you share your stories and dreams and fears is a remembrance of home and a reminder of what it means to be family. I know as an introvert and generally shy fuck, it can be hard to open up or accept love, but I want you all to know how much your love for each other helps people in the broader world, especially me. Ta-ta for now, Gerald.
Aw, that's very sweet.
That was. I don't care for Amber, but thank you for
So we're faking it pretty good.
Yes. We have them all fooled. Okay, here's the last.
I was going to say, was that email on like lined paper?
Yeah. There's a couple of emails here.
These are fake.
I printed these out. No, here's the last one. And this actually just came tonight. Like, I went on Facebook and there was a message on Facebook for you and me from our old friend Scott from Down Under. And he was like, "What's the mailbag address again?" He said it in that tone of voice in his email or in his message. And I said, "You better hurry up because we're going to do mailbag tonight. So, get in there."
Mailbag tonight.
I'm a little obsessed. I think I talked about this before with how all the late night CNN, maybe this is what Sam was telling me not to listen to, but all the late night CNN anchors at this point are Australian people for some reason.
Really?
And it drives me crazy because they're all so like relaxed and velvety about the world ending, basically. Like I turn on CNN in the middle of the night and they're like, "I'm Rosemary Church here at CNN in Atlanta, Georgia. And right now in Calgary, it's 179 degrees Fahrenheit. We go up to our correspondent there who is literally on fire because the world is burning down. Ezra, tell us how it's going up in, and I'm just like, can you just be a little bit fucking worked up, So anyway, I'm obsessed with that, Scott. Anyway, this is from Scott, and the title of the email is, you're going to love this, South Carolina episode.
The true crime one.
Yeah. "I love you guys so much." That's the first thing he says.
Oh, no, but.
No, he doesn't.
You're breaking up with me.
Yeah, right. "I'll always have a place for you in my heart. It's just not going to work out between us." No. "Hello, dear Sean, Amber, and Jamie, ? And Joe, ? Appropriate punctuation. "In this week's episode, Sean corrected himself, Ray, Robert Redford, and Nick Nolte. Good thing about this one is I do remember that. It's recent enough that I do remember how I fucking blew that call. So I corrected myself. Here we go. "When he said he had a correction, I thought he was going to mention the oyster barbecue thing before the boat crash where Paul Murdoch was driving. Sean had said it was 40 degrees, but when I listened to Mandy Matney's podcast, she said 60 degrees.
God,
Laughing.
Sean, you're fired.
Well, laughing emoji because it's such a small detail. I remembered Sean had said 40 degrees because I was thinking in Celsius, which is like 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about as hot as it gets here. So yes, he's down under, so they all think of things in Celsius. So when I said 40 degrees, that stuck in his head. And then, of course, it turned out I was wrong. It was actually 60 degrees. Although, in my defense, and yes, I was wrong by 20 degrees, I think the point I was really driving at was...
It wasn't a balmy evening.
It was the middle of the night in February in a swampy, humid part of the country where in the daytime it was probably gross and warm, but I'm guessing at night it wasn't. I mean, it was 60 degrees is cool at night. You're not dressing for that weather when you leave the house. And they're on the water, and it's always colder on the water than it is on the land.
I've noticed this.
And they're in a boat traveling at a certain rate of speed, which means there's a breeze, which also contributes. Now, I don't know that it took it all the way down to 40 degrees.
But pretty close.
Point is, I apologize for fucking that up so badly. But this makes me think Sean gave the whole rundown of the Murdoch murder without notes.
He absolutely did. I will tell you that.
Is that true? Because he did an incredible job, if that's true. The only extra I got out of listening to 10 episodes of Mandy Matney's podcast was the audio from the emergency calls. Other than that, Sean covered it all and more. Nice. So, yeah, I kind of nailed it. And Mandy Matney didn't need to do 10 podcasts. She could have just had me as a guest on one, and I would have given everybody everything. It's funny. Did he do the whole thing without notes? No, I had very extensive. Nice. That's all. Thanks for the hell or high waterness of what you're doing, especially Sean, and also very much Amber. Love, Scott.
Aww.
I love you guys so much. So that's our mailbag for tonight. Yeah, my favorite is I think I might try to purchase property in the Lehigh Valley, close to Pennsylvania and New York, because they have 800,000 people there.
It's more people than
a lot of NBA. Yeah, a lot of places that have an NBA team.
Is he trying to get an NBA team there?
I don't know what that. Yeah, like I'm not sure.
What is the connection? I guess
right.
That it's a basketball podcast.
I don't know, because what would be this guy is playing for the Miami Heat. So we would assume that he's going to live at least during the season. So 6 months of the year in that area. Right. And he's I don't know how old he is, but I'm going to guess, let's say he's 24-year-old multi-millionaire. Seems like Miami might be a place he'd want to spend a little bit of time.
Yeah.
As opposed to Moose Creek, Pennsylvania.
Sounds good, though.
Great grouse hunting out there.
Well, yeah, and I would say everybody loves a bargain, but if the selling point is the cost, that's not an issue for a millionaire basketball player. So
right. And that brings us back to the 800,000 people, which is more than many other NBA markets. Is he trying to convince him to move there and start his own team?
I hope so. And also, let's get in on that.
Yes. Imagine just a young NBA. And I, no offense to Duncan Robinson, who I'm sure is, infinitely more talented than 99.999 repeating decimal % of humanity, but he's not an NBA superstar. So let's say he's a mid-level NBA player. Imagine the thought of a 25-year-old mid-level NBA player going,
I'm starting a franchise.
Fuck the rest of these teams. I'm doing my own thing in the Lehigh Valley because there's 800,000 people. Okay, Duncan. All right. Well, why don't we take a break, and then we will do our parting. I was going to say diarrhea, but yes, parting shots.
Bye-bye.
Hey, folks. This is Sean, and we're taking a little break right now. When we come back, you will hear the rest of the episode that we recorded, but prepare yourselves. We did have some problems at the very end. Amber somehow managed to say everything that she had to say, and then when it was my turn, something happened, and magically I did not get to speak. Really what happened was her power went out throughout her neighborhood in that moment. But what's great about the rest of the episode is you can hear me start to realize in real time that she is not actually looking at me the way I think she's looking at me. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the episode so far. Hope you enjoy the rest of it. And if you feel both of those things, I hope you're in a good place, having a good week, and doing good. Or well. And now back to our show. We are back. You're listening to The Long Shot. It is a podcast, and it's time for a segment on the show that we like to call Parting Shots. So why don't we start tonight with Amber, Parting Shots.
Yeah, I would love that. So I had sort of a wake-up call moment this week.
You were in a hotel?
Jeff got a new phone. He's now officially on our
family
phone.
plan.
Yes, we've only been married 3 years, and we're making the jump. We're taking the big step to being on the same phone plan.
This is an entanglement.
It's gonna be tough to get out of. But so we're on the same phone plan. So anyway, it's a longer story, but he got a new phone. He really needed one, and it has a better camera than he's had a very, very old phone. And so he's been really into taking pictures. And
Jeff had one of those phones that takes daguerreotypes.
Right. And so we go out, midday together with Smudgy and let Smudgy go to the restroom. And,
by the way, I stole that daguerreotype joke from Civil War photographer Matthew Brady, so I apologize.
Thank you for saying something. But yeah, so we're outside, middle of the day, middle of a work day with Smudgy. And so Jeff was getting some candid shots of Smudgy running around, and I was in those pictures, and I did not care for what I saw. It was like okay, and looks aren't everything, and it's not all about vanity, but I've been feeling a little sad lately. And
I'm with you.
I don't know if things are a better route is inside out or outside in, but the photographs of this lady looked like a disheveled woman in her pajamas in the middle of a work day. In a way that it was okay, I know that I'm not getting glamorous every day, but I look more insane than I even thought that I did. This is I'm gonna have to put some effort in somewhere. Right. And again, I've been feeling down, so maybe I'll feel better if I brush my hair. Maybe if I don't know. Again, which came first, the chicken or the egg? But yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow. Again, we're all working from home. It's still locked down.
It's a fucking wild time. It really is bizarre.
But I didn't realize how insane
this was in your face. What is going on with this person?
Jeff has to live with that every day.
That woman needs help.
I didn't just wake up. I had been at work for 4 hours.
Right. Oh my God, who is that? Oh, it's me. Oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm working on that. And again, fine line. I don't want to balance. It's all balance. I don't want to become I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to curl my hair every day, or become because I don't. Something that I'm working on and meditating on and trying to internalize more is that my body and my looks are the least interesting thing about me. I'm trying to not have all of my worth be placed in my appearance, because I think it's unhealthy on a lot of levels, and there's more to me than that. That said,
okay, sure.
I think that there's still like a taking care of yourself. Again, it's everything in moderation. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. And also having my new boss starting, I was like, well, I should look professional. So between seeing that horrific photograph and wanting to make a good first impression, like 2 days in a row, I like did my hair before I started working and like put in an outfit that wasn't just mismatched pajamas and stuff. So we'll see. Well, next week we'll see how long this keeps up. But I would love if, again, I don't need to be like a glamorous person, but I would love if someone unexpectedly stopped by, it wasn't horrifically embarrassing. You know, like I don't need to get ready for 4 hours because someone might, I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think looks are important. So I'm wrestling with a lot.
No, I mean, because I've been, as you know, I've been teaching nonstop through this whole thing. And I think for the first, I don't know, I would say the first year when I had class, I would have a button-down shirt on and I would put my jeans on and I would be
just to make you feel like a person.
Not because there was anybody coming over, but because that was what you do when you're a professional. Like I'm at work now. This is my work and I am working and therefore I will be work, And I think that's days gone by, Now I'm like, sorry, I'm in my pajamas and slippers, like that's just how it is.
Yeah. But there's something to that in the like costume of it all, like how doctors wear lab coats, like to embody what you want to be. There is something to that.
Like I'll go out and like check the mail in my pajamas at this point. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
This is what I'm saying. Like these photographs were from our neighborhood, like out in public. And I was just like, oh my God, our neighbors must think I am just a fucking lunatic.
So you're working on it.
I'm working on it. We'll see. I'll check in next week to see progress.
Not working that hard.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I there's so much going on right now that's so sorry. Am I making I'm just looking at your face and you look like something bad is about to happen. There's just so much going on right now that's so frustrating in terms of you're frozen. That's what it is. You still there? Hello? Oh boy.